Carnivore diet and consistency. Let's see if we can fine tune our methods so that we can be more consistent with the carnivore diet. What's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So I've been doing this carnivore diet consistently for a year and a half, and I did it intermittently for a long time, since 2018 till 2020. So I had a really rough time being consistent with it at that point. I had a couple reasons, big reasons more than anything. I was fighting gout. Every time I'd start to lose weight, I'd get a gut attack, so that was making it difficult. And the other thing was the sugar and carbohydrate addiction. I think that's what most people have to deal with. Eventually, once I got rid of the gout issue, all I had to do was focus on the one problem. Before, it was like I was fighting a battle on two different front lines, and it made it really difficult. So if it wasn't one thing that was getting me, it was the other. So once I only had to deal with the sugar and carbohydrate addiction, as I think most people have struggles with, it's one of those things that if you can just be consistent and promise yourself you're not going to cheat, then you have a shot of moving forward with this. It's so difficult to do. Remember, you're battling an addiction. If you can't cut out any food from your diet, I don't care if it's alcohol, I don't care if it's any kind of beverage, I don't care if it's sugar, carbs, meat, eggs, dairy, whatever it is, if you can't cut that out and not think twice about it, there's a bit of a problem, right? So I had that problem myself. Now, when it came to cutting out carbohydrates and sugar, every day I'd wake up and promise myself for a while, well, I'm going to be good today. And every single day I broke that promise to myself. Now, the interesting thing is that became a habit. And that was a habit I had to force myself to stop doing. So sometimes when we're trying to correct our problems and be consistent with something, even though it's good for us, it's tough to be consistent. So we have to recognize the pitfalls, but let's think of some positive ways we can have a strategy to move forward with this. So I would say the first thing you need to do is ask yourself why you're doing it. And don't just ask yourself why you're doing it. Write it down. Make a little checklist with these questions. So why are you doing it? Is it for your health? Is it for better energy? Is it because you want to be around to see your kids and your grandchildren get married? Is it because you want to clear your depression up? Is it because you just have so many health issues like I had? You just are tired of it and you want to do something to manage or correct them. So find your reasons. There's going to be a couple big ones typically, maybe a few, but there's going to be a bunch of small ones. I don't want you to just think about your want. I want you to write it down. Write down why you're doing this, why you want this. And I want you to be able to do that and write it down so that you can look back and reflect on all of those. Otherwise, every now and then when you go back and reflect on your thoughts, you'll only think of most of them or a few of them or maybe the big one or two, and you'll forget all those little reasons. Sometimes all those little reasons added up have more of an impact than the one or two big reasons why you're doing it. So now that you know why you're doing this, I want you to set some goals, but more importantly, I want you to set some tangible goals. So part of setting up some tangible goals is setting yourself up for success. These got to be realistic goals. Set up a plan so that when you're doing this, you're prepared for all your places you're going to be throughout the day, typically your work, your home. Maybe you go visit your in-laws a lot. Maybe you go visit your own parents a lot or your children. Whatever it is, always have a game plan for no matter where you are. You do a lot of driving with work. Have things you can do to keep yourself motivated to stick on a carnivore diet during the drive. Is hitting a McDonald's or Five Guys drive-through the way to go? Those are the places I go to when I want to grab a snack. So now that you got your goals, you got to create your game plan. Part of the thing you're doing isn't just keeping all this meat on hand so that you can have easy access to it, but you ideally want to try and get rid of some of the triggers. Now, it's so much more difficult when you're cooking for other people, right? Or you have other people in the family that aren't eating this way. I understand that. I get that. I know it can be difficult because even if it's not the situation, sometimes you go to other people's houses. Say you go to families' houses once a week or twice a week, and you're kind of stuck eating what they serve, right? So you got to be honest with yourself and give yourself permission to say no. If you always give in when you go to other people's houses, maybe it's a good idea to take maybe a couple weeks or a month or two off of doing that, just so you can get strong enough and get rid of that carbohydrate and sugar addiction so that you can tackle that better after a while. If you know you have a hard time getting past the first month, that's the month you got to be as airtight with your plan as possible. The next step is I want you to find your tribe. One of the things you're doing right now, watching this video, is you're finding your tribe. You're watching this video and you want to learn from it. You want to try and connect with people on social media. And even if you have some people in your own inner circle, it's a really good thing to do to find your tribe. Don't try and be a cowboy and do this all by yourself. Try and find a group of people that you identify with that do this carnivore way of eating and have been really consistent with it for a long time. Now, Long time is relative, right? Some people have been doing this for 25 years or more, and some people have been doing it shorter. Some people have been doing it just a few months. Now, the one thing I don't want you to do is compare yourself to other people. Use them as a guide, use them as an influence, but don't compare yourself to them. They maybe lost weight faster than you. They don't have your health history. You have your health history. Compete against yourself. Remember, one of the good things you can do with this is always have that little sense of pride and think, no, wait, all these people know I do carnivore, and they all know I'm not really consistent with it. I'm on it, then I'm off of it, then I'm on it, then I'm off of it. When you do a way of eating like this, you're a bit of an ambassador to this carnivore world, right? Other people aren't really too familiar with this way of eating. And when they do find out about it, you're their one connection to it. And if they see you're constantly falling off the wagon, they just realize, you know what, maybe that's not really a sustainable way of eating. You'll eventually get there where it is sustainable and you're going to be consistent. When it comes to your circle and your tribe, try and participate with them. Add comments, add upbuilding comments. Try and help other people. The more you help other people, the more you're going to have more confidence in what you're doing. And it's really going to make you stable with your decisions. And it's really going to help you to move forward. It's really going to help you to have more conviction in your own concepts and ideas. So it's important to stay reflective during this process. I think it's really important that you stop and analyze the good as well as the bad. Times you had weak points and times you felt really good. What helped to make you feel really good? Was it an emotional day that you had that made you feel really kind of confident and bulletproof? Or was it an emotional day you had that made you cheat or really want to cheat? Was it because you went too long between meals? Was it because you were eating the wrong type of meat or you're eating too lean or too fat? So I want you to really stop and reflect on the good and bad and how you got there and try and better that. Try and learn from that. You have to be reflective on everything that got you to the point where you are now, good and bad, so that you can learn from it. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of honesty. It's one thing to know it. It's another thing to be honest with yourself and maybe admit you're not as good with certain things as you thought you were. So consistency is the real key. If you're always falling off the wagon, it makes it really tough because you keep on hitting a reset button. You're resetting that sugar and carbohydrate addiction. Now, I always found 3 months was the magic window for me. If I could get past the 3-month mark, my cravings went away. I could sit in front of my favorite junk food and it wouldn't have any impact on me. I can still do that. It took me a long time to get there. Some people can do it quite easily, but if you're dealing with a sugar and carbohydrate addiction, it's going to be a little more difficult. No, actually, it's going to be a lot more difficult. This is an addiction we're dealing with. So part of this is being honest with yourself. I also believe something you should adopt is stop accepting setbacks. Yes, you've accepted the fact that you've had setbacks. You've gone through your setbacks. Look at it like this. You expect to have setbacks when you go through a withdrawal and you're trying to conquer that withdrawal. Now, if you've already been off the wagon numerous times with this, you've already had your setbacks. You've already had your relapse. Make this one count. Make this next time you go strong with this way of eating, make it count. Set yourself up for success with all the steps that we've talked about so far. And the last thing is don't get discouraged by slow progress. Now, I've been doing this on and off for many years, and I've been doing it consistently, like I said, for a year and a half. And my weight has overall plateaued. In fact, it actually went up a little bit when I tweaked my diet to a higher fat diet. So it's interesting. Does that discourage me? Not really. And yeah, I'd like to see it go the other way. But at the same time, I don't mind that because I learned from it. And believe it or not, I'm actually thinking about having more food in my day just to see how my body responds. Because I find it quite interesting that when I switched to a high-fat diet, I put on 22 pounds. And then I dropped 1 pound of meat a day. I went from 4 pounds down to 3 pounds, and I quickly dropped 10 pounds. Like in a week, I dropped 10 pounds. It was like a week to 10 days. And I thought, okay, so I think I'm onto something here. Hopefully it's going to keep going this way. Well, that's when it stalled. I don't mind that it stalled because this is the process. I have all these other health benefits I've gained from doing this way of eating that is helping me to be consistent, to not have a lick, taste, or bite of anything I'm not allowed to have. So I want you to find your motivation to be consistent. I want you to find your motivation, not get discouraged by slow progress. Stop giving in to little temptations. Stop giving yourself permission to cheat. When you think to yourself, I'll just have this one little bite. Well, that's often where it starts. You don't hear about smokers just having one cigarette and then they don't go back to smoking. That's often what happens. They have one cigarette and they do go back to smoking. So you got to be honest with yourself here. So there's a few steps. I'd really like it if you wrote these down and tried to make a list of these and try to find ways to help yourself. Try and find a tribe. I think that's one of the most important things is to find a tribe. That way you can get feedback from them and you can offer suggestions and help other people. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks a lot and take care. Talk to you later.